boom. Oh, hey, everybody. Welcome to another 5-Minute Friday. My name is Jade Alberts, an ambassador down here in Calgary and founder of Peer Guidance and investor with Startup TNT. And you know what? I couldn't get home today, so I figured, if Zach can do it where he and Karen can their fruits and vegetables, I can do it from my car. So here we are, first time ever doing it from a car. And I am excited about our guest today because you know what? He's not ice fishing. He's not hunting. We were talking about he's going out serving turkeys here, and avid conversationalist. Neil, how are you doing today?
Doing amazing. How about yourself?
Oh, I can't complain. I know we're talking about the snow and a little bit like that. And we're out there and we're talking about ice fishing a little bit. And, before I get into, talking about Sawback Technologies, why don't you give a brief introduction about yourself and your passion for the outdoors and what you do to protect the environment, because that'll lead into your technology.
Yeah, thanks for the intro. So yeah, I'm a pretty passionate outdoors person. I spend a lot of time when I'm not working on Sawback out in the wilderness, either hiking up the mountains to go chase some fish and whatnot, or wander around in the woods looking for a couple of critters that I can bring home and feed the family for a bit. And what that led me to, or led me down the path, is seeing essentially what the impact is of Alberta's industrial activities on our landscapes. I happen to, like I said, enjoy spending a lot of time out in the woods, and I do see these abandoned cut lines, and more importantly, I see a lot of abandoned pipelines and whatnot. And I began thinking, well, how do we actually go about identifying where all these things are? Inexpensively, because as everyone knows, it costs a lot of money to go back and actually fix things. But you can't go back and fix things unless you know where they are. And that's where the idea of Sawback began percolating. And then about 2.5 years later, I'm quite happy to say that we're well on our way to delivering on that solution that could identify buried objects over large and complex areas without actually having to touch the ground. And we can get the reports from that collected data sent off to our customers within a matter of hours versus the days and weeks it usually takes.
Well, let's briefly touch on that journey, because we met approximately 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and your company has evolved, and obviously you've got some investment not only from our good friend Brian Slocum of Metiquity, Startup TNT. So let's talk about that process a little bit on how you've gone from maybe 1.5 or 2 years ago to where you are today.
Yeah, so if everyone remembers what happened about 2 years ago, the world kind of went topsy-turvy. So it was pretty rough couple months. We had begun our fundraising journey right at the beginning of the pandemic, and things obviously did not go well. Just no one wanted to do anything. It was not business as usual. So thankfully things did settle down, and we got connected with MedEquity via another pitch event, which was great. MedEquity ultimately became our lead investor a couple months later, and once we had the lead investor, we were able to start identifying and signing follow-on investors. Startup TNT was definitely part of that journey. The interesting thing about Startup TNT is the pitching. So a lot of people tend to think, well, fundraising is relatively easy. You just basically explain to someone what your idea is. That I was very quickly disabused of that notion. So you really get to hone in on your pitching message. And yeah, it took, I believe it took me 2 tries before finally succeeding with TNT. But out of that, my pitching skills definitely got sharpened up quite a bit. And I'm happy to say that as of about a month ago, we ended up closing our fundraising rounds. So we're busy basically getting our ducks all in a row, progressing on our solution, and we'll be opening up our next fundraising round within the next couple months.
Perfect. I mean, and we hear that a lot, right? Talking about how TNT and the people that you meet, really help you sharpen your skills, helping your pitching, helping your data room, and make sure that you're probably going to be extremely ready for this next round now.
Yeah, if anything, I will hand it to TNT, the due diligence team that worked with us. They went through our data room actually quite exhaustively, so it was good. It was quite confidence building, knowing that all the work I put into polishing the data room really did pay off. The few gaps that we did have, it was easily identified and rectified. So yeah, I can't stress enough that if you are looking for fundraising, make sure you have all your documentation and more specifically your data room in order. It makes everyone's life so much easier.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So let's talk about yourself. Now you've closed your round, and eventually you're going to open up your next round. So how are you doing transitioning from fundraising to working on your business? And then obviously go back? Have you had any trials and tribulations with that?
Yeah, we've immediately, upon receiving the investment from MedEquity, I went out and began staffing up the technical team to help essentially push that technical development of our solution faster. And honestly, the trials and tribulations is actually just finding the right people to come in and help. Essentially, it's never as easy as you think. Unfortunately, like you would think, okay, well, it's relatively easy to find a software developer or a hardware developer to come in. It's not. Everyone's busy, which is fantastic, and I'm really glad that everyone's busy. But unfortunately, the side effect is it makes it a bit of a struggle because you need to find those uniquely suited personalities come into startup environments because it's usually head down and just go. So that would have actually that is still the ongoing issue. So I've had to get a little bit better in terms of the recruiting aspects. And as I was commiserating with some other startups last night, I'm not alone in this journey. So it does make me feel a little bit better, but it's nice to have a community that you can go back on. I've met lots of startups as well as advisors to both TNT as well as Platform Calgary. And it's just nice to have those networks to reach out to when you do run into issues.
I think that's just a great point, right? It's a journey you don't have to take alone, and we talk about that all the time. And we are a collaborative ecosystem, and that makes such a difference in when you're looking for whatever position you want to hire for. So now you've got the people, you've hired some people, you're still looking for some people. So what's your next steps on the growth of the company, Neil?
We're going to continue on our pilot projects. We've identified a couple of new use cases, and we're also starting additional research and development on an adjacent vertical for our technology. Our last investor is very heavy into the ag tech application of what we're capable of doing. So we're basically validating that, expanding those relationships. In fact, I got a couple calls this afternoon with folks out in Ontario that are willing to essentially trial our product. So yeah, it's full steam ahead on all cylinders.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I hope that as a guy who knows and what it's like to be an entrepreneur, and I know you have no problem finding that me time to get back into the bush and do some of the things that keeps your head on straight and focus to grow your business. So we really appreciate you spending some time with us today, Neil. And if anybody wants to reach out to you or contact you, where can they find you?
Please look me up on LinkedIn. I'll be honest, it's likely the best tool. If not, you can shoot me an email at neil@sawbacktech.ca.
Perfect. And we'll actually have your website in the comments section as well. So we really appreciate it, Neil. Thank you very much for spending 5 minutes with us. And I hope you and your family have a great weekend.
Thanks, and you too.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.